What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is Austin Davis. I'm here with Sean Houchins with the Social Media Pros. We are in Tampa, Florida. First time in Tampa. We're going to talk about how to turn pressure washing into a full-time income, a full-time business for yourself and your family. So what's going on, Sean?
What's going on, man? It's a pleasure to have you here in Tampa, shooting all of these upcoming videos. But yeah, so I know I talk to a lot of pressure washing companies, a lot of companies that follow you, and that's the question I get asked all the time. When should I go full time? How should I go full time? What are some tips to go full time? And I know that you have a lot of really valuable insight as to when or how you should go full time. So what do you think someone should be considering on when they should be going full time, or the tips that you have on how to go full time safely so that their business doesn't crumble and fall apart?
Yeah, that's a good question. And honestly, it's kind of, I can get into a lot of different things. It's kind of a long-winded answer. But when I think of, how to successfully turn pressure washing into a full-time job, what we're talking about really is we want to replace our current income or our household income with this new idea, right? It's super exciting. You're on YouTube getting all this information and you see all these guys and creators, and you've hopefully been watching me and a couple other people, and you want to see, like, how do we just get that, right? And so when I think about how I started, right, I was selling cars. I was doing that full time. I saw a video on YouTube of this kid power washing the driveway, and I said, I want that. I want that opportunity. How do I get that going on, right? And it really, it sounds pretty basic, but it's true, right? You start on your part. You start, on the time that you're not working, which for me it was, Saturdays, nights, Sundays. Maybe I had one off day, which was a Thursday. Your off time, and you're starting your business idea, right? And I think what's really important is, understanding the time of year that you're in. Pressure washing, what service business you're talking about. Understand that there are seasons to this business. So spring and summer is great. If it's the wintertime, maybe you're doing something like Christmas lights or whatnot. But for the most part, power washing is in the spring. And so take that into account. Like, most of our customers are going to be looking for this service in the spring and the summer. But, don't over leverage yourself. Go out there and take whatever money you're okay with losing. That's okay, because you don't know if this idea is going to work for you and your family. A lot of businesses that start are not here a year from now. I think 90% of businesses are not here a year from now. So, hopefully you can watch some of this content. Maybe you can dive into our program, which will be like one of the links in the description. We can kind of help you. That way you're not one of those statistics. But I would just say, take a little bit of money that you're not afraid of losing, a couple $100, and, buy your first power washer, buy your first window cleaning squeegee. Or if you're in landscaping, buy a mower. I'm not selling you, and I don't think you should go out there and spend $20,000 or $30,000 on some equipment, which is a very hot, controversial topic in our industry. If you look at these pressure washing groups, it's like, you need the equipment. How are you supposed to do the equipment? Or how are you supposed to do the jobs without the equipment? You're not going to be able to shoot that high on a shooter or whatever. You're going to use a pump up sprayer. That's so unprofessional.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm trying to allow you to be here a year from now.
Yeah.
And if that means doing a job with a pump up sprayer, that way you can maintain the security of your house. That way you don't over leverage yourself and you get yourself into debt with credit cards that you can't pay back at the end of the month. So be it. Like, I'm here for longevity, and I'm here for the general success of most people in America. I am not saying, and I'm sure there are people out there that have financed their whole life and put everything on the line and have made success out of themselves. But those are very, very small substrata of very hyper successful entrepreneurs and people that we can all look up to. But the fact of the matter is, it's just not always going to be that.
Yeah, and I think that, back to the topic, which is how to go full time in pressure washing. It's not over leveraging yourself in debt. And these are things like equipment, skids, trailers, but also on the marketing side. I talk to a lot of guys who, they'll call us up and they'll say, hey, we need a new website, and we need the SEO, we need the Google ads, we need the Facebook ads. I'm like, oh, cool. Like, how much are you doing a month? Like, how many jobs do you average? And they're like, oh, we're probably doing like $4,000 to $6,000 a month. Like, at that rate, you can't really leverage much for digital marketing, and you probably shouldn't be leveraging much to finance a $30,000 skid or a trailer or something like that. Like, the goal, if we want to get back on the topic of actually being full time and how to go full time, you should keep all of these expenses to a minimum, right? Like, use an old raggedy truck, right? Don't go finance a brand new truck. Don't go buy an expensive skid. Like, try to get through and get by with the least amount of possible. Like, go to Fiverr and pay $300 for a website. Like, that, it's okay to do that, right? Like, and have that crappy truck. And who cares if it's unprofessional? Like, we're all guilty of it as entrepreneurs where we have that shiny object syndrome, where we get hyper fixated on something and we're like, we have to have the best of the best. We have to do this. We have to do this. But like, what you'll get yourself into is you will over leverage, It'll be the springtime. It'll be the summertime. You're going to have your $8,000-$10,000 months. You're going to go, I'm going to go full time, right? And now you've got a skid. You're paying a marketing company. Next thing you know, November hits and you're having $3,000 months or $2,000 months. And now you have all of this debt that you've accumulated because you got so used to that income. And now you're in a pretty bad spot. And so I think that you pair that philosophy with just trying to get by on the least amount of stuff possible from a debt perspective. And you pair that with working a ton outside of your full-time job.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So working 40 hours a week at your normal job and then be committed to actually have the discipline to work 40 hours after that. Like that's how I started my company. Now it's not a pressure washing company, but I would work 9 to 5, then I would get home, and then from like 5 to 2 a.m., I was working on my business, right? Whatever it was. So even if you don't have jobs 40 hours a week, you can still go out and pass out flyers. You can put down yard signs. There's so much stuff that you could be doing to move that ball forward so that you get to that point where you could eventually go full time.
Yeah. Well, I think what you just said, you're not in a pressure washing company, you're in a marketing company, but I think this is just basic life principles. Don't spend more than you make. Don't, live on less than you make. Don't over leverage. Don't get into debt. I mean, that's a different conversation of like good debt and bad debt and whatnot. But even like if you've seen a lot of successful companies, they will show you like even pictures. You walk into some of these businesses, they set pictures of their humble beginnings, a small truck. I see these big companies on my Facebook group, and it's like, look where we were when we first started. It was this small little rinky-dink thing. And I saw a picture of this guy who has like 6 trucks, and then the next picture was him hauling a cart power washer. And it's just like these big successful companies did start this way. And I just think you just can't look down the road and see a really successful company and think, I need to have that in order to be that guy. That guy didn't start where you were. That guy has money, he has resources, and he has customers that can pay for all that stuff. Dude, humble yourself. It's perfectly fine to start with this stuff. And like you said, with the seasons and whatnot, where, it's November and things aren't coming in, it's a beautiful thing. Trust me, it's a beautiful thing when you walk into December and it's a seasonal business and you don't have an equipment bill and all these, other things that you have paying for.
Like marketing.
Yeah, marketing. If you're not there, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
The goal is to kind of work up to that point and then not have it be such a like, oh man, like you shouldn't have to stomach these big expenses. And I think when you do originally sign up for like a marketing company, like hiring your first one, I know whenever I first hired my first website company, it was kind of a big thing. And even though I could somewhat pay for it, like, damn, man. But being ready for that and knowing that it's okay because you have customers coming in, and I have this one customer that's paying me this much a month, and I can supplement that, but kind of just allowing the floodgates to open and just signing up for all this stuff, we can be a bit smarter about that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that was, I think it's a really good way. Like I said, I wanted to talk about this topic with you because so many times, and I get the luxury of having so many conversations on a weekly basis with pressure washing business owners of all walks of life. A lot of people who follow you and watch your videos and stuff too. And a lot of them are, they've either just transitioned into full time or they're wanting to. And so many times do I find myself giving them advice on why they shouldn't, right? Or why they should consider not. So, they typically will call me because it's like, hey, I need all of this marketing. And I'm like, well, wait a second. Like you're a little too soon in your business. You're part-time, you're not making enough money. Don't over leverage yourself with a marketing company, but here's the things you can do, right? So I know that there's a need out there for guys who are trying to make that decision. And at the end of the day, it's never going to feel like a good decision. Like I remember when I went full-time in my business, I remember very vividly being very stressed for a few months, but that stress it starts to go away after time. But just building it up so that you feel less stressed, right? Because you have that income where it needs to be. You're going to shoot yourself in the foot. It sounds like a good idea to go full time maybe when you're not ready, but if you do it too soon, you're going to fail and you're going to be back where you started a year prior, right? Like,
yeah, and like what I think about like what makes a business actually fail, and I think it depends on how you define fail. Like if you just like this business is not for me, I don't consider that a failure. I think that's just not for you. But like actual businesses failing, I would think that the outgoing expenses exceeds the incoming revenue, and particularly that can happen when you sign up for all this stuff and a $30,000 equipment on a lease, that's $600 a month. That depreciates faster than anything. Because once you run bleach and chemicals or something, it's worth like half. Yeah. Who's going to buy that? And then you're upside down on a huge, ridiculous bill and whatnot, right? And so like, if you're ready to sign up for these things, like a big piece of equipment, either have the cash to do that, or it's okay if you want to go and do a loan from a credit union, but make sure it's reasonable. And then like play the math out. Like, what is your incoming revenue? Our income revenue is X. My expenses are this. I can safely looking at the next coming months, I can safely afford this, and then determine if that's a good decision for yourself. Yeah. But I wouldn't just look at a piece of equipment like that. Like that right there is my saving grace. If I don't have that, then this is all not gonna. It's not gonna work. And that's not just with equipment; it's with marketing too. Because there's several ways to go out there and market yourself that doesn't involve hiring an SEO company.
Yep.
But because I know plenty of guys in my pressure washing Facebook group that have no website, no nothing. They're door-to-door killers, and they word of mouth is just crazy, and they're crazy successful.
I kind of want to end on that topic, because there's no piece of equipment that's holding you back from doing $250,000 a year.
Yeah.
There's no piece of marketing that's holding you back that you have to spend to hit $250,000 a year. Like you mentioned, I know plenty of guys who have signed up with us recently that were doing $500,000 a year. They had a website, no marketing, no Google business profile, none of that stuff. They were spending no money on marketing. They just organically grew there.
Yeah.
So, when you're doing $30,000, $40,000 a year and you're considering getting ready to go full time, don't have the ideology that if I just hire this marketing company and I get these leads, that I'll be where I need to be. You should already be there, and then that's really just gas to the fire. And the same thing's true with your equipment, right? Like you could do $250,000 with a DeWalt pull behind if you have that tenacious, go-getter, mindset, right? So,
Yeah, I think just to close there, how to go full time. Really, it's just going out there and acquiring a customer. You need to go out there and acquire customers. It's not, and you can do that via an SEO company can help. You can do that via, the yard signs, the flyers, the door to doors, the Facebook marketing. There's so many different realms of marketing, which we talk about in our program as well, which will be one of the links in the description, like I said earlier. But don't think that you need to go out there and acquire a bunch of expenses in order to get there. You need to go out there and acquire customers, and just think of when you really dial it back and you look. Peel back the curtains or the layers and look like how do I go full time? It's when you zoom in on the actual thing that's going to make that happen. It's customers. Customers equal revenue. Contacts equal contracts. Contracts equal revenue. Right. And so getting that, all the other stuff is going to come from getting those customers first. So I would just say focus on getting a customer.